Chief Schawl comes to us this morning, courtesy of Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Justin, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the air with us again. My goodness, this is such a weird time, and I'm sure it's odd for Indiana Borough Police. I know that, with IUP not here, with people not out moving about on the streets at nighttime and even in the daytime, it must just seem very strange for your officers these days.
Well, first of all, good morning. It's nice to be in contact
with the outside world.
It's such a strange time, and it's a time for reassessment, and we're just blessed though that we're able to be flexible, and we're able to adapt to the environment that we're in a way that I think is meaningful and right for the residents of Indiana. So certainly, town has a different feel. That's inescapable, and I think we're all ready to be through this moment and back to something that we recognize a little better. But we're well equipped to handle the moment, and I think everyone, borough-wide and county-wide, is doing a really nice job.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we did note over the weekend, there was a gathering that police had to go for an anti-noise violation, which typically isn't big news, but the fact that it was a gathering really reinforces the notion that social distancing rules are still in place.
Well, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, there are on private property gatherings that let's say are in poor taste, and this is something that we're working through that I believe is a statewide and probably likely national issue as I'm reading the paper. But certainly the gathering that you're referring to took place on South 7th Street, and it had more folks than certainly reasonable or prudent, and the noise was such that the citation was issued. So the crowd was dispersed, and the citation was issued, and but certainly social distancing, I don't think, can be adhered to in a crowd of any size at this moment.
Yeah, I sort of had this image of the officers going, "Hey, an actual police call, let's go," and the entire department showing up because they just needed to see people.
Well, I'll tell you, Indiana's not. We're not. We never want to see someone so badly that we want it to be an adverse encounter. But I will tell you that there are still members out and about. There are families walking, and there's no shortage of police calls or calls for service. But certainly they look a little different. The response is a little different. The feel of the community is a little different. We're still a vibrant place. Let's not forget that. We're just on pause at the moment. So we're trying very hard from the police department standpoint, at least, to protect what we have, to maintain the great things that we have, so that when there is a return, the return can be full throttle and triumphant as we need it to be.
You mentioned a couple of moments ago that you can use this time to reassess what you do and how you go about things, and see what the department is doing now that could be done better, or maybe something that could be bolstered. Or what are some of those things that you're discovering?
Well, that's a great point, and I'll tell you, very recently I had a conversation with someone that I trust very much, and they said, this is a great time to reprioritize. Things that we were doing prior to COVID-19 that weren't bringing value are not the things that we should be doing post-COVID-19 because they're likely not to bring value. So I think that there is much sense in that, and it came from a good-hearted place. So I don't have a full assessment necessarily, but I will tell you that number one, community engagement. I mean, there is an importance to positive engagement with each other, and that's from a police sense, and that's from a private citizen sense, and of course on both. But there's value. We have much room to improve across the board in how we treat each other, but I think that there's a great opportunity for us to be better people coming out of this, because we've all experienced something extremely traumatic together. We're all right in the middle of it. There are going to be books written on how we've handled this moment, as there were in 1918, and it's such the gravity of the moment hasn't escaped me as a chief of police, or as a father, as a husband, as a son. There are just so many dynamics. We just have to be careful and cognizant that what we do brings value to ourselves and to each other as we walk through this.
Yeah, one of the things that we should point out, though, is that you're always doing that self-evaluation, always looking for ways to do things better or to maybe assimilate something that has worked well in one area and say, maybe in this other area it could work that way too.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, if you're standing still, you're falling behind, I think is the way that saying goes. So certainly, I think this moment just it causes maybe more time for reflection. If it's not more time, maybe more of a reason to sit back and reflect upon some of the things that we're doing and the forward movements that we have. So it's so interesting. All of us have been impacted, and we're all just waiting. I believe we're all just waiting for the opportunity to turn this into something extremely positive, in the best way that we can. It may not be the same, but it certainly will. We're not defeated.
When this campus empties out and the students are not on campus through the full academic year, generally in those times, for instance, between the fall and the spring semesters, there's a period of time, over a month, when there's not, rental properties are not occupied for the most part. And then when people come back, they say, we find out we've been broken into while we were away. Are there increased patrols now of those areas that are typical rental areas, that just to make sure that nobody is getting in and messing around?
Absolutely. There are increased safety checks being conducted all over Indiana Borough. We've drastically increased our ability at proactive security checks, and really that's one of the keynotes that we're going to walk away from this moment with, is the efforts that we have put in as a police department into protecting those commodities in town. And as IUP is in session or IUP is out of session, oftentimes the things that we deal with a student population are more dynamic. We referenced earlier today a gathering that was certainly consisted of some young adults over the weekend. So those things are more dynamic, but I will tell you that Indiana Borough has no shortage of things that the police department can do to plug in, to assist positively, and this opportunity with maybe less of a young adult population in town. Now, that population hasn't been eliminated. There are still young adults here. There are still students in rental properties taking class remotely. We want them to be here, most certainly, because they add a vibrancy to the community, but it gives us an opportunity to engage differently in the community. Not that the student population or young adult population isn't part of our community, but I believe Indiana Borough residents, I hope Indiana Borough residents, as we do an after-action review of how the police department responded and how Indiana Borough responded in general, that everyone can look back and say that was a really powerful moment, and it was really great value to have our local police department be able to engage like that, and we just really want to plug in meaningful ways.
We will soon be in that season of the year. Well, we hope we will soon be in that season of the year when it's warmer and folks will be outdoors and walking around. In past summers, we've noticed bicycle patrols. We've noticed foot patrols increased for Indiana Borough Police. Just getting out and making an appearance in a neighborhood can make a big, big difference in terms of the way people feel about their police department and the protection that they know that they have for it. Are there plans for this summer to get back out on a little shoe leather and get the bicycle wheels rolling again?
Certainly. As a matter of fact, I was in conversation this morning with Sergeant Eric Slavinsky, who leads, who I know you know, who leads the bicycle unit here at the Borough.
He's a biking dude.
We're looking forward. Those things are the bicycle patrol, foot patrols. These are things that should be being done, 365 days a year. It's just easier to do so in the summer, and we're more recognizable in nicer weather. But all these things, certainly everyone should be outside moving around, and so you'll encounter police officers everywhere, and in a positive way. Really, we're just trying to interact in right ways that bring value.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does do a neighborhood a lot of good to see just a police officer driving through, yes, but even walking through and having that personal connection has to be really, really of great value to the police department.
Well, it's a great value to us for sure, and hopefully to the community as well. It's amazing how just like when we're behind closed doors of our home, when we're inside of a police car, we're not as approachable as we may seem. Even though we're driving around 24 hours a day, I can't underestimate the value of routine cruiser patrol because, one, it serves as a deterrent for criminal activity. Two, it serves as omnipresence so that the community understands that we are here 24 hours a day. Three, it gives us an opportunity to identify suspicious activity because we're in the same neighborhoods 20, 30 times a day, same sections of town, we're able to immediately identify what's amiss. And even more value to us would be to be on foot in those areas, to be actually talking to friends on their front porches, to be engaging in children. I mean, as we walk out of this moment and as we walked into this moment, we want to try and remove the barriers that created a lack of trust and issues that we see more on a national scale than on a local scale. But certainly I look forward to an opportunity where I don't know if we'll be shaking hands again anytime soon, but certainly we can have conversations from sidewalk to porch and do things that bring people value that way.
Absolutely. So we're talking with Indiana Borough Police Chief Justin Schawl this morning. What's the message for folks around Indiana Borough from the police department as we head into the outdoor season, we'll call it?
Well, I think that none of us know the exact right thing to do in the exact moment, but I do believe that, one, we're better together, and two, I think it's prudent for us to continue the reasonable steps that we've been taking as to public health. So I want to be outside. I'd love for my son, when it's safe to do so, to be on a baseball field. I'd love for my daughters to be active in the sports that they are and to get to some summer camps. But we really want to make sure that that's being able to be done in a safe way so that we don't overwhelm the resources that we do have that we've been able to protect to this point. So I would just offer to the community that the police department is here. We want to engage. I believe it's safe to engage with each other as long as we do so, and everyone's doing so with a mindset maybe to protect the person that they're talking to, just like they're trying to protect themselves. And so just an added level of safety, and I look forward to a very quick rebound and an expedited return when it's safe to do so.
And one other thing that I wanted to point out, for folks who might notice some suspicious activity around a place that typically should not have that sort of activity, it's just a simple call, isn't it?
It's a simple phone call. 724-349-2121 remains the Indiana Borough Police Department phone number. We're available 24 hours a day. You can now reach us a little bit on social media, but certainly 24 hours a day, 349-2121 will get you to a police officer. Do not hesitate to report suspicious activity because in this moment in time, we really want to protect our businesses. We want to protect our communities. Certainly there are those out there that are trying to take advantage of us and our vulnerable populations, and we want to make certain that our stance is one of togetherness and also one of lack of toleration for people that are going to put us at danger. So please report suspicious activity or any need that you have.
Very good. Chief Justin Schawl, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
There you go. Sit is.